Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals, and part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat apart from Rob because he doesn't know anything about these
Nope.
because he's jumping in for us, but nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers. But multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. We've had a bunch of questions submitted already, as you can see, which we'll go through. But if there's anybody here live on the call who would like to ask any questions, please feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a lot of other amazing SEOs on the call that share their ideas, experiences, and perspectives. I personally think that's one of the best things about SEO Office Hours is not just hearing from the four of us, but hearing from everybody else. So please continue to do that. Like always, with me today is Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Yes, it's our 83rd episode today. So thank you everyone for joining us. We have a very international SEO office hours here today. Just been looking at where we're all dialing in from. We've also got Myanwali, a city from someone dialing from Myanwali, from Beijing as well. We've also got Myanwali is also in Pakistan. We've also got people dialing in, of course, from the UK, as well as we've got Lagos, Barcelona. So if your city is not mentioned, please let us know. And thank you very much for always supporting us. We, as I mentioned, it's our 83rd episode. So coming up to nearly 2 years at SEO Office Hours. And I'm very happy that we have on the show today two special guests, Nofisa and Rob. Hello.
Yay.
Rob, thank you for stepping in. I wanted to give a brief introduction to Nofisat, and then I'll pass over to you, Rob, because I don't have your bio, but you have been on the show before a few times, which is great. So, Nofisat, you are an SEO and content executive, and you're working at the Post Office. You lead the organic content strategy and optimization across insurance as well as the financial products. You are a strategic digital marketing professional and you have over 4 years experience in SEO plus web content optimization. You've also, prior to the post office, you worked with some of the most recognizable brands, Audi, Volkswagen, McCain, as well as Škoda and the Guardian. Škoda, a very good car. I do like them. You have 8 years experience as well on top of this because you've set up and ran your own business. You were very successful. You ran that, I believe, before you started your career in SEO. So that's very interesting. You might be able to give us a bit more information on that. And also, I wanted to say that thank you for coming on the show. You are interested in making this announcement to everyone here in speaking opportunities. So if anyone has a opportunity for Nofisat and would like her to share her wide range of experience in SEO as well as running her own business, which she'll talk about now briefly, please get in contact with her. I will share the LinkedIn profile in the chat now. So over to you, Nafisat.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael and Joe. Good morning. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's lovely to join the show. I've watched a couple of episodes and I've also attended the show. So it's lovely to share my expertise, my experience working in-house now and working agency side. I also ran a business, a travel agency for a couple of years. So all of that combined together, I'm just happy to be here to share and to learn as well. Thank
Oh,
you.
great, thank you. So Jojo has said you can come on the Sitebob webinar, an A
Ah,
Sitebob webinar. Perhaps you guys can
amazing.
get in touch about that. And yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Jojo. So I've shared Nafisat's LinkedIn profile there. And oh, Mark, yes, Norwich. Yes, we're calling him from Norwich too. That's also a very great place in the UK. So I'd like to introduce to Rob. We do have, I think we have Ammad. He might come back later, but for now, Rob, thank you for stepping in. Do you want to give a brief intro to the audience?
Yeah, I'd like to let everyone know I'm absolutely not interested in speaking engagements, including the current one that I'm on right now. I've been doing SEO for 15, 20 years, you could call it, working online, mainly in the experience gift spaces, so online gift companies and activities. My current focus is Google Things to Do, the travel arm of Google. And I really got into this when I got hit with a Google penalty back in 2014-15, for which, as far as I know, is still the only time that Google has admitted they made the mistake, and I have that in writing.
Oh, that's a great one, Rob. And sorry, Mike actually just also shared some of the other experience that you've done. So that's very interesting that they admitted it in Google. You've also been doing, are you actually going to go to Brighton SEO next week?
No, I haven't been for a couple of years.
Oh, okay, because you've actually completed 300K walks and you even trekked off road from London to Brighton. So I don't know, maybe you might plan on doing that next week, but
I live about 500 yards from Brighton SEO, so I have no excuse.
Out for the drink.
So if there's a speaking engagement going, maybe I'll go to that.
okay. Thank you for volunteering to come on the
You're
show
welcome.
today. We've got loads of questions to get through today on our 83rd episode. So I will pass over to Mike.
Super. Okay, let's start with this one as we find our groove because it's changed a little bit this morning. Sorry if this is a silly question, but how can I see competitors' website data? Nice, a nice opener. Who would like to kick off on this? Go for it.
Yeah, I can take this. So I think in terms of checking for competitor data, you want to look at like public available data. You also want to understand what kind of data you want to see. Is it like the estimated traffic, their SEO and keywords, their backlink authority? Do you want to see like paid creatives and stuff like that? So that would determine what tools you want to use in terms of seeing them. In terms of tools, there are some free similar web plans that you can use. You can also use paid tools such as like SEMrush, Ahrefs to view competitor data. You can also use Moz, SEMrush, Systrix. Definitely lots of tools there to see competitor website data. You can use like Wapilizer to see their UX, their structure, what kind of campaigns they are running, and how people are landing on their website. So it basically depends on what kind of data you want to see and what tools you have access to in order to be able to see them.
Amazing. Joe, anything else outside of that?
Yeah, I would say have a look and see, of course, like what you're trying to look at. There's other products as well, similar web, so where you can see upstream and downstream analysis. You can see a bit more about where the other competitors are in the market. And I would also look to see, so Nofisat provides some great examples of the SEO tools that we have. Yeah, it's a great way to be able to see what other people are doing. I do also seeing sometimes if we look outside of the tools, I like to actually do some surveys and find out what other people are doing. What do they like about the particular product? So if, for example, we're in the vegan market, for example, you can always get a second opinion by asking people if you have something, if you're part of a community, what are the different vegan products that you like? What are they? And you can be also quite obvious what they are doing. So that's how I would do it if I wasn't going to look at particularly SEO tools. But Simon also mentioned that, yeah, SimilarWeb was quite good. It also depends, of course, on your price. You could also look at Google Trends. Google Trends also will highlight what other brands are in the marketplace. Of course, you'd have to put the actual specific term, what you're looking for, and you can see how they're increasing or not in terms of demand. And then you can go back to a search engine and actually look for that and then see in the SERP results what's happening. And of course, there's always AI tools too to show you what else is happening in the AI search engines.
Yeah. I wanted to say quickly that it's not a silly question. There's no silly question. We've covered it quite well.
Yes, definitely no silly questions. This is where we are at, but this is the point of SEO Office Hours, where people can go to and learn and ask questions without fear of, oh, maybe it's something that too obvious. No, there's always lots of changes in the industry, so it's important to, and we're all at different levels, so it's important just to ask the question. And just on the point regarding Google Trends, Simon quite rightly said it has an API. That's good. So you could actually build your own tools to pick up that data. I really like Google Trends because it does, as the name suggests, picks up topics that are trending. So things that you may not be aware of, which maybe might not be picked up by SEO tools.
Rob, what about you? When you're looking at competitors' websites, what are you interested in and how do you get the data?
I think it's more of a why am I interested in? We look at all the we look at Ahrefs, obviously, and we're Googling their stuff all the time. But I think you need to step back and think why you're looking for it. What are you looking to gain? Are you looking for content ideas, link building ideas, etc.? Because you tend to always find yourself behind the curve if you're looking at what somebody else is doing, because you can only measure stuff they've already done, and so by default you're going to be behind them. But that doesn't mean that you can't. There's still a bit of a goldmine for ideas you could repurpose, etc. But I think the more important question is why you're looking at it. So if we knew that, I think it'd be easier to give specific advice to find information around exactly what you're looking to do. Just on Google Trends, I find it really unreliable. I find it doesn't pick up on quite a few things where I know for sure in our industry there are trends around it, and I've seen the opposite where it's picked up and told me what the traffic is like for a term that we've literally created a few weeks ago, and I know no one else has at all. So I think you have to be a bit careful when you look at Google Trends to see what's really behind it, because I know for sure some of it's just not accurate.
Amazing, thank you. The only other things that I had here, by the way, I know the person that's asked the question, and they're not an SEO, it's a managing director, and they're basically putting investment decks and stuff like that together at the moment. So they basically want to know what they can find out about their competition. So in terms of other bits that I would add to that would just be that you can use something like Systrix for things like visibility in general of your market and certain and competitors and so on. You can use, we all have different SEO tools that we use to look at things like competitors' top pages and see what content's doing well and what it's doing well for. That can be really helpful in terms of content strategy. There are a few tools out there that will help you give you an idea of what people are spending on paid and what their ads are looking like, which can be quite useful. And then on top of that, I quite like looking at things like Wayback Machine or doing crawls of websites to just understand what their sites are, what they look like in terms of structure, how they've changed over time, what they've changed, maybe what products they have that you don't have, and vice versa. A lot of the SEO tools that we all use will give you a rough idea of estimated traffic, and so that can be quite helpful to work out overall how it's doing. One thing when I've done this before is it is really important to look at your competitor's website to see what is it they actually do, because sometimes it's not always and for instance, if they offer other products as well, that can be a bit diluted if you're looking at comparing general visibility. And then what else have I got on here? Oh, and then you can also look at things like Built With and have a look at their actual tech stack and stuff like that if you're interested in seeing what their back end and what their website's actually made of. Ahmed's here as well, so I'll add you in. Rob, you are free to relax. Whilst I do that, Joe, is there anything in the chat?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of comments in the chat. So EJ said also if Google are writing the meta descriptions. Oh, sorry, this is about another question. Sorry, Rich asked a question in the chat. Thank you for both of you replying to that. Mark was saying Trends uses bucketing, I think, like keyword planner. I think that was maybe a response to what you were saying, Rob. Sorry. Jay said that she likes to look at the types of content that the competitors produce, how often they post, and what the topic is. Yeah, that's quite a good one, because it can give insights into their content strategy. The SERP we mentioned before, so Simon has said, look at that. Great place to see who is beating your site into little bits and rubbing it in. Good to always check what the competitors are doing. And Natalia quite rightly said that, but we need to remember any third-party scores should be treated with caution and only as relative comparisons to your data in that same tool. So don't use one tool like Ahrefs and then compare it with Systrix and try and tally the scores. You need to just use one. And yeah, Rich has also said that he likes to use SEMrush to find the keywords that are close competitors ranking for and spot the gaps. And then he can fill those gaps with fresh content. Mark can put a little bit of joke there, has a joke. Sorry. Yeah, Simon's also said quite a few tools. Waleed as well. He also mentioned Moz too. So yeah, loads of interaction there. Thanks, everyone.
Ahmed, welcome. You had some technical issues, but welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me as well. It's the Vodafone issues going around in the UK as well, so you can imagine how worse it can be
No
but
worries. And no one can
fortunately,
say when they watch on YouTube, this isn't live. It is. Joe, I don't know if you've got it to hand, Ahmed's bio.
Yes, I do. So thank you, Ahmad, for joining us again. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, thank you. Apologies for your, sorry for your technical difficulties. It happens to everyone. Ahmad, you are an Edinburgh-based semantic SEO professional. You've got a passion for the creative as well as the tech SEO elements. You've worked and you work with small e-commerce sites such as fashion, retail. You also work in professional services and, of course, higher education. That's quite a variety and quite impressive. And you also, your approach is about focusing this high quality content and excellent user experience with tech SEO, in-depth tech SEO. You've also got a postgraduate degree in marketing, and you recommend to encompass best practices that not only rank well, but resonate with the target audience and, of course, achieve any wider marketing objective. That's quite interesting how you have a three-prong approach to SEO. Is there anything else you'd like to expand upon? Because it looks like you've got quite a lot of experience here.
actually, that was quite detailed. I just want to go for the semantics basically. And recently, I started listening to the podcast by Mark. He's been giving some Spotify sounds tracks of Google patterns. So that was quite insightful actually. And I have been using a lot of these information of how Google has been working for a long time, but we came to know quite late about that. And building up on that actually, and that is really helpful going forward for not just making the content but actually understanding how the ranking system works. Just trying to go a bit more deep into that a lot, so that is helping me also understand how AI works. By reading some research paper recently, when AI came in, there was a lot of research going around in different countries, so that was something really I'm looking into. Rather than just what people say, I'm trying to look into the research of what people are researching on of the systems to understand the system and implement in my workflows for the clients.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a lot of experience. Welcome back to the show, and thanks so much for coming on. We've got loads of questions to come through or to answer. So I'll pass you back, or I'll pass over to Mike.
Great. So I think there's a couple of questions in the chat, so we'll pick those up after this one. So Joe, if you can dig them out, if that's all right.
Yeah.
If you were setting up SEO governance inside a large organization, what's more important to get right first? Centralized control under an SEO lead or an SEO team, or distributed ownership with playbooks and guardrails? Nafisa, you work at the Post Office, so I imagine
Yes.
you're probably the most appropriate person to start this one, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd say that it's a little bit of both, and it also depends on where your journey is. In terms of starting, I'd say an SEO lead, somebody to direct the strategy, somebody to direct the process, and just establish the pillars where SEO meets like the commercial values of the business, and also just creating that holistic view for SEO and establishing it as something that directly ties into all other aspects of the business. Then, as that structure is established, then different teams can take ownership for different parts of like maybe their content process, the PR process, and then feed into SEO as well. Because eventually SEO, as it's growing, is not something that should be done in a silo. It's something that should be done across the business to get the most up-to-date value or the most value out of it. So I'd say that it's a little bit of both. Start with somebody that shapes the strategy and then grow into everybody taking ownership for it. One of the things that we do at the post office is having a central SEO team, and then the different products feed into that SEO strategy and the product. It's like we do SEO for the different teams, but holistically, we still tie our SEO strategy into the commercial pillars of the business. So SEO is a department on its own. It also works across like different business. So establishing that base and then spreading it out, I think that's important because it's not a short-term game. It's a long-term effect.
Amazing. Ammad, do you have anything to add?
I would actually agree with Nofisat and add further on that, because while working with a higher education client in the Scotland, and I'm still working with them actually, and the only issue that happens sometimes if you don't have a proper governance or a structure with SEO is like other teams take priority over with their tasks. So let's say PR or PPC, and the SEO recommendations don't get implemented. It is great for big organizations like universities, or as Nafisa is working in post office. Big organizations should have a proper team in place, and they should have a proper something you can say a channel of where SEO is working the time while integrating within the different teams, so that the process of achieving the, you can say, authority or sustainable positions in the SERPs should not set behind. And obviously when the Google updates are coming more and more every time when there is a change, so if the SEO recommendations are not implemented properly, or it's not been taken along with other marketing channels, then you can see a lot of setback. And obviously people can easily say like it was SEO that's not working and other departments were working. So having a proper team in the center, especially in the marketing, is a pillar for success for any organization who is at a big scale.
Amazing. Joe, do you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to, there's got some good points from the chat, so I wanted to say that, especially what Simon has mentioned. He says that it depends on your organization and how you are structured. So centralization only works if you have the power internally to make the decisions. Otherwise, you have to run a lot with a distributed approach. It can be quite difficult. I think that's it, actually. We have a few other comments about other questions.
Great. Okay. I've worked with some quite big organizations ranging from universities to charities, and they can be very complex when it comes to their ecosystems and just all the different people involved in adding content or changing content and so on. And I think that balance that you mentioned earlier is really important, because you've got chaos versus basically you don't want to put barriers in place for people being able to do their jobs or add content, or in universities cases like courses and all of that stuff. A lot from my experience, a lot of it has been things like making sure we're doing things like communicating as much as possible. So for example, providing memos to major changes or things that we want, expect, providing training just to help people understand that, particularly with sort of key people that are adding content to the site, trying to help them understand that making changes can have quite a big impact if you're not aware. Obviously, there are things that you can do, such as put sort of locks in place on certain things in CMSs and things, which are based on users' restrictions or permission levels, which can often be quite helpful. So you don't have somebody just changing a URL structure for thousands of pages because they've just changed one of the pages. So stuff like that. But one thing I would say is you end up with a lot of tickets on your desk if you're trying to manage everything yourself, if it's a huge organization. So it really is about that balance that was mentioned before. And so for me, it would be a mixture. It would be very much finding those champions or key people across the business who are responsible for sections of the site or adding content, and working with them and helping them and providing, like I said, like memos and training and keeping them up to date with things and showing them good examples. But ultimately, that's if you have somebody in the central team, it needs to be their job to be tracking everything and analyzing changes and all of that stuff, so that if something has happened, you can react quite quickly. I find that there's quite a few really good tools. One of them is, obviously, we've got all the crawling tools like Sitebulb, Screaming Frog, and so on, that you can do scheduled crawls to see if there have been changes. I quite like Little Warden as well for things like sending, if there have been any sort of changes to key pages. You can essentially add in a load of pages that really matter to the business, and then if there have been any changes, it'll basically email you to let you know, and that saved me quite a few times. So I think that's quite good. Joe, is there anything else in the chat?
There is. Jojo from Sitebulb has said that's why they have developed an enterprise SEO training course. So you can see the link in the chat there. So much of the enterprise training course is actually about communication, collaborative workflows, etc. No, it's fine, Jojo. It's good. This is it. You can promote the course that you have in line with the questions, and it's great to have this interaction. So thank you. And Mark, thanks. You also shared the Little Warden as well. That was a great one as well. That monitors the change on key pages. Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Something that has also worked quite well for me in the past, and I've spoken about this on Office Hours before, is every now and then doing things, we call them pre-mortems, but we basically imagine that things have gone wrong. And then with key people, and we try and work out what might have happened and how can we prevent that from happening. But what I find can be helpful, particularly with big organizations, is you identify things that you can't necessarily prevent, but what you can do is come up with a plan if that happens. So, for example, if there have been, say, for instance, something's happened with a section of the site that's important, you've already got a plan of action in terms of who needs to know about it, what do they need to do, and so on, as opposed to just running around trying to fix something when trying to put out a fire when it's happening. So yeah, coming up with a bit of a plan from that perspective can be quite helpful. Would anybody like to add anything else before we go to the next question? No? Okay,
No, I think that's it. Yeah, next question.
Right, how are we doing for time? Sorry, it feels very chaotic.
Yeah, 11:05 now. So I just want to say to those that are joining us that are watching the recording, join us live. We are at 9:30 a.m. British Summer Time. This will change at the end of the month. It'll be 9:30 a.m. GMT because the clocks change. So do join us live because then you can take part in the discussions that we're having here. And I also want to say thank you for everyone for watching us live.
There you go. Keep going.
So, for those that are joining us live, click a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and help us grow and reach out to more people who can then join us live as well. I'll pass over to you, Mike, because we've got loads of questions to be answering.
Saying that, we're very happy with the amount of people we've got. I really like our community. We've got a lovely bunch. Yeah, keep coming as well. Those that are already coming, thank you. Next question. What are the best defensive measures to protect your brand's SERPs when competitors are actively targeting your brand name? And I want some ideas beyond running branded ads. Okay, yeah, somebody's obviously got competitors I'm imagining it's things like maybe comparison pages, that sort of thing with their brand. Who would like to kick off on this one? Joe.
Hello. Yeah, so this question is it's a great one. Yeah, sometimes you don't always have the budget to be doing the paid ad. And once upon a time, actually, it was illegal for other companies that are not your brand to actually bid on your term. Of course, that's changed because some companies would like more money. Anyway, so what are the best defensive measures to protect your brand SERPs when competitors are actually targeting your brand name? So what I would do is actually try and work, we're coming to the end of the year, so try and work for next year, 2026, for building your brand across different channels. So this is about working with different influencers so that other people are talking about your brand. So these could be YouTube influencers, they could be people on LinkedIn or on Instagram, TikTok. You could also be making sure that your reviews are up to date. So you're getting those great reviews from Google My Business and other platforms such as Booking.com, TripAdvisor, of course, depending on your business. It's really important to make sure that you've got allies and you've got great customers coming back. So maybe you might have a customer loyalty program as well that you offer a special discount, or they're part of a special community and they might be also talking about your brand indirectly. They're not paid influencers. So there's a lot that you could do, but it does take some resources.
I wanted to add that digital PR is definitely something to invest in, depending on your budget as well, to try to push your brand name, try to make the best of the different campaigns that you can put out there to ensure that you're getting your brand name cited in like newsworthy outlets and just creating that authority for your brand and that differentiation for search engines to know that your brand name is associated with that particular product that you're selling, and making sure that if you have like products pages, you're optimizing your brand name as much as possible in relation to the products that you're selling, just making sure that you're creating like a 360-degree angle wherever it is that you are to make sure that you're increasing your brand share of voice.
Great. Ammad, do you have anything to add?
Since I'm working in higher education, I never came across, actually, we were using other brands' name in the PPC ads. So, and then not the reviews in.
Is this about you?
Yeah. So because our name corresponds quite closely with another big university in Scotland, so we often come up with the same search terms. But obviously, they win because they have got a big global prominence as just national. So obviously, we are at this time we are investing a lot in our own branding as well, so that we can get ourselves segregated in terms of the design, the PR, very local branding as well. Maybe some big posters on trams and black cabs and stuff. So this is we are investing a lot in from last 2 years. And obviously SEO content is on the side as well, which is local based. Sorry, so local in terms of Scottish, not England. So it is being developed, but considering the user intent as well. So we appear more and more in a segregated way for our desired audience as well.
Great. So one thing that actually, I don't know, like when I first start working with clients, one thing I noticed that a lot of people don't do is almost like branded SEO. We often just go for the non-branded stuff. But actually looking at what people are searching for, and you've got tools like Google Search Console that will tell you this information. I think it's really important to try and own your brand and also for the different things people are looking for. So whether it's actually your brand name itself, but also might be something really specific like logging in, or it might be about specific products and so on. And you've got access to all of that. So I think if the first thing I would do is basically really own that. And I think it was last week, Mark Williams Cook, who's on here, shared one of his tips on LinkedIn, which was just around using regex in Google Search Console to find out really specific questions that people are asking, such as using terms like how, what, why, and so on. And that can also be for non-branded terms as well, but it can just be really useful to try and find that stuff. So yeah, I think obviously one of them is just making sure that you are the best answer for everything that people are asking for about your brand. And then anything else in your kind of ecosystem that you can control. So things like where you've got reviews, for example, like review channels and social media channels and all of those things, just making sure that it's very clear that it's your brand and everything linking to each other. So from that perspective, and then obviously you've got things like Google My Business as well. So I think it's trying to make sure you own that sort of knowledge panel can be, Mark's just put warning, regex is evil. That is so true. But yeah, I think just making, you don't necessarily, I'm not saying you need to flood the internet with stuff about your brand, but I think just making sure you're answering those questions and that it's on your site and it within your ecosystem. And then the other thing is just looking to see what is it they're trying to rank for, these competitors. I'd be surprised if it was just your brand name on its own. I'm guessing it's, like I mentioned before, comparison pages or things like that. And you could look at doing something similar or seeing if there are any sort of third-party websites that do comparisons between tools or companies or products, and see if you can speak to that journalist or that blogger and make sure that they're presenting an accurate picture of what it is you do. And I'm quite surprised how easy it is still to reach most journalists and so on and just ask them things like that, and they usually respond. Yeah, I would just get in touch. Joe, do we have anything in the chat?
Yes, we do. And from very great points actually here from so EJ said that monitoring your brand everywhere else and making sure that you control the conversation of your brand, whether and on different platforms like LLMs, Reddit, socials. For example, if you see that there's any miscommunication about your brand, write an article or create a page specifically to challenge that and provide correct information so you can try and win back the SERPs. And actually, we didn't really mention about what's happening in the LLMs or Reddit. So it is really important to make sure that you have your site as optimized as possible, structured properly, and you are perhaps looking into an AI and Reddit strategy. Another one is, I'm just looking at a few other, let me just see if there's any more comments on that, because we've got lots of things coming back and forward actually. I liked what you said, Jordan. You said that Ammad has done a great Looker Studio dashboard. It lets you basically split the traffic from Google Search Console into branded and non-branded. So that's actually really good. Google Search Console does quite nicely divide into obviously brand and not brand. And so you can look at that. Mark's also shared some regex, but yeah, make sure you've got some time for that because it can take, regex is evil, as he said. I can't comment, but it looks very complex.
Just for what it's worth, something you could also do is just actually reach out to that competitor When I was in-house for quite a long time and I got to know our competition really well, and I did that a couple of times where I noticed, for instance, they were bidding on terms when it came to PPC or things like trying to compete for some of our brand terms organically, and actually just reaching out to them and saying, look, we don't want to get to this point where we're all doing this. That's sometimes smaller competitors will ignore you, but if they're a similar size to you, they don't want you doing that either. So actually, sometimes the simplest thing is just to reach out and say, look, I notice you're doing this. And it might be that it's somebody new that's come in and has started doing that and they didn't understand. There was a bit of an agreement between us all not to to try and compete in terms of writing content about each other on our websites. Great. Joe, there's a couple of questions in the chat, I think. Should we cover those?
Yeah,
Because
we'll
we're
cover
running out
them.
of time.
We are. So actually, just one other thing. Jordan shared about this brand AI sentiment tool by Dan Petrovic. Dan was on the show 2 weeks ago, actually. So that was a good one. Thank you for that. Yeah, so there's a couple of questions that are in some people have already started to answer, so thank you for that. I'm just going through it now. So I think someone has asked, have anyone got any tips of where to find the best SEO research papers? I think we've got a few answers to that, actually. Mark, you mentioned a few, but if there's anything else that you'd like to say for that, please let us know. We've got another one around monitoring internal linking pages. So we have one from Rich about mentioning internal linking pages are key to the user journey. Can someone explain what cosine similarity between vectorized pages is? I think we already have might have a few replies already, so thanks for that. I don't know how true that LinkedIn source post is, but we have a couple of replies anyway, and I think that's it really for the other ones have been answered.
Okay, super. Let's go on to the next one then. Thanks everybody for answering people's questions. Let's do, sorry, I hadn't prepared because I thought we were going to talk about that one. Okay, let's go with this one. AI overviews often pull from OTAs, which is online travel agencies. So AI overviews often pull from online travel agencies, review sites, and big travel publishers, meaning our own hotel websites get buried. What's the realistic path for an independent hotel to win back visibility and direct bookings? Who would like to kick off?
I can
Go for it.
keep going. So I think this is quite interesting because the travel space is very competitive, and one key thing that drives the travel space as well is reviews. Reviews are very big. So I would say that first to own your local visibility and ensure that you are able to get reviews from your customers on your local listing as well as on TripAdvisor, on Bing, on Apple Maps. Make sure that your local presence is something that is very in-depth and you are maximizing the reviews that you are getting from your customers. You are creating location pages, not just people that are finding you, making sure that you are expanding the life cycle of people that are coming to you from like OTAs, from aggregator sites in travel. And then when people come to your establishment or make a booking with you, their lifetime value and their loyalty increases. I think I'm speaking based on experience and a bit of SEO as well, because I worked in travel for a really long time. And I know that once somebody buys like a travel experience, for instance, or a hotel booking from you, and they have a really great experience, the lifetime value of one customer can be times 10, because the likelihood of them to make sure that when they go to another city, they are booking your hotel, or when they make a referral, when somebody is coming, is very high. The probability of them coming, revisiting, and making sure that, that you are owning that particular space. So making sure that you are relevant with your reviews, you are answering customer queries across the different places where they are asking, and you're just making sure that their loyalty in terms of CRM, in terms of keeping the email communication, you are owning that much like letting the OTAs and those aggregator sites be where they find you, but making sure that your retention strategy is much more. I think that's the approach for me.
Amazing. Ahmed, do you have anything to add?
I'll just say more on managing your own online reputation management and make sure you have got good audience that they can give you reviews on, because this is the problem we also faced, not being a hotel, but being a university. Like many people talk about us on different forums like Quora and Reddit, but we don't have any management system to manage those positive or negative things. So we are trying to build our communities on that. Being an organization, we can do that, but for a small business or someone more localized, they need to make sure like they are managing their reviews properly and having a good customer voice established already for their own brand so that they can talk or create a word of mouth for them online.
Amazing. I'm gonna pass my answer over to Rob actually. So if that's all right, Rob, I'm gonna bring you back in because he's
Ooh.
lots of experience in this industry, and I'm sure has got way more interesting things to share than me.
Thanks for that build up. Honestly, if you want the honest answer, it's going to be very difficult. At the same time that OpenAI signed deals with Shopify, etc., they signed deals with Expedia and with Booking.com. It's going that way, and I think the best thing you can do is lean into it and get on as many OTAs as you possibly can. You may get a few things spring up like happened in the first cycle of this when Expedia, Travelocity, etc. all started these businesses 15, 20 years ago. You had these small pockets build up, like small hotels of the world, boutique hotels of the world, etc. had their own networks. But if we're moving to a browserless future where you're just asking the question and these guys need to get their data from somewhere, and it needs to be reliable data and inventory, you need to be on those platforms because the big guys behind the scenes, such as Galileo, Amadeus, all the people that provide this travel data, are going to be providing it, and you need to be on there. I think it's almost an impossibility that you can go independent when they're going to want live inventory stacked up ready for ChatGPT or Gemini or whoever it is to take that room out of inventory and just book you in. I'd stop fighting the system and run with it, I'm afraid.
Ooh.
Amazing. Thank you, Rob. Joe, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add, but there is a lot of good information in the chat I'd like to explore. I'd like to share.
Yeah, go for it.
So AJ said that actually Booking.com and TripAdvisor, they're soon going to be integrated with ChatGPT, she believes. So you need to make sure that you are visible on these platforms and that you have decent reviews on there. There are lots of companies that have partnered up. AJ is going to have a look and see if she can share that. And then she did actually in here. So she shared a link actually showing who has partnered with ChatGPT, because Jordan said as well that Etsy seems to have partnered up with them. So it looks like there's also Expedia, Canva, Figma, and there'll be other ones like Uber. So it is really important that you are on these platforms and you have reviews. Simon had said that Google Hotels made it very difficult before AI, local advertising and business profiles to get local people using the hotel for meetings. Make sure some aspect of your hotel is unique so people can see that, and you can also focus on marketing that too. I think that, and again, I don't know how much of a commission places like Booking.com take, but there's also people that search differently. So some people go into Booking.com only and book there. Other people will actually want to go to your hotel. So it's important to also keep your Google listings and your Google reviews actually updated there.
Great. Amazing. Did anybody else want to add anything before we jump on to the next question? No? So what I think we'll do is, because we're at that kind of funny time of office hours where we've got 5 minutes left, I think we're going to jump onto our last regular question, which is, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO? And before you go, Rob, if I can start with you, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
Google things to do, as always. Get on it if you happen to have a tour or a travel site.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you for jumping in, Rob.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rob.
Ahmad, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the the
I'm just excited about the idea, like it's not dead yet, so it's still keeping us our careers live. However, apart from this, so much noise in the industry right now with AIs and stuff, I'm trying to do some experiments on my own website, and if it worked, so then I can say SEO is not dead for me. So I'm actually quite excited about that right now.
Good. And Nofisat, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
I think for me, it's measurement. Very soon, we won't be we won't be so hyped about rankings. Clicks are already downhill. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we measure and how that continues to like grow sales for businesses and stuff like that. So measurement is key for me here.
Amazing. Joe, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
Actually, I'm very excited about it because next week there is an event called Brighton SEO in the
Hey!
UK. So I will be hopefully going to that. And I believe, Mike, you're going there too. So I don't think we're going to have an SEO office hours on
No,
Friday.
we are SEO Office Hours free next week. We're all going to just enjoy Brighton. Yeah, so we're having a week off. And if who's going to Brighton SEO, can you let us know in the chat if you're going? I can see Simon's waving, Emma's waving. Amazing. If you're around on the Wednesday evening before Brighton SEO begins, the guys at Candor that do Search with Candor, the podcast, and then you've got the SEO Mindset guys as well. They run a live recording where everybody gets together the night before and we have pizza and we have beer and it's a really nice event. I definitely recommend it. We're sponsoring the drinks along with someone else. Come and have a drink on us. Yeah, it will be lovely to meet as many of you there as possible. And I just found out I'm a last minute speaker, so I've jumped in at the last minute. So I'll be speaking on Thursday. So if anybody wants to come and join me, it's the graveyard shift. It's literally just after lunch, so people are still going to be having pints down the pub. But I'm going to be talking around just the future in general, particularly around the agentic stuff and just when our customers start using agents, what do we need to do? So you're welcome to come and join as well. That would be lovely. Joe, do you have anything else to add?
Well, looking forward to seeing you there. Yes, I wanted to also say that Chima has an event called Sip and Search, run by the FCDC. The FCDC is organizing a karaoke and also AI automation party next Thursday. So that'll be really good. So if there are any spots available, do check that out. And I'll be looking forward to learning about AI automation. And also I'll be taking part in a karaoke competition with Vanilla Ice.
Nice.
So the song is Ice Ice Vanilla Ice Baby. So
That's so cool. I know Jordan's speaking as well. I've seen a post on LinkedIn. Please go and support Jordan. And I'm not sure who else is speaking, but I'll try and see as many. I'm not there on the Friday, annoyingly, but I'll just come and support as many people as possible on the Thursday. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for SEO Office Hours. Firstly, thank you so much to our live audience for joining us. You make it really special, I think, with all the interactions and extra advice and ideas. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to those who watch after on YouTube. As Joe has said, come join us live. It's so much better. It's rubbish on YouTube in comparison. So come and join us, honestly. Thank you so much to our speakers for joining us. You were amazing. Joe, thank you as well to you for co-hosting. Rob, thanks for jumping in as well at certain times. It's been amazing. We will see you in 2 weeks. Hope everybody has a lovely few weeks and lovely weekend.
thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Nofisat, Ammad, and Rob,
Thank you.
and all our guests.
Bye.